The message was sent in a blur of exhaustion, the kind that makes hands shake and eyes burn, the kind that turns routine into survival. It landed on the wrong screen, to the wrong name at the wrong time, carrying 3 words meant for a child who needed reassurance before sleep. Those words would crack open a night that neither sender nor receiver expected, in a city glowing with winter rain somewhere in the United States, where one single dad was running out of strength and one guarded executive was running out of reasons to care. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of ordinary people doing the right thing, take a moment now to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel for stories that remind us humanity still matters. Matthew Cole had not planned to be late again. Plans were a luxury for people with margins, and his life had none. He worked a salaried job at a logistics firm in Columbus, Ohio, reporting directly to the company's chief operating officer, a woman known for precision and distance named Rebecca Turner. Matthew was a widower in everything but paperwork, raising a 5-year-old son named Noah, whose world had shrunk since illness took his mother. The nights were the hardest when fevers spiked and questions arrived without answers. Matthew learned to live in fragments of sleep and courage, carrying his son through the narrow hallways of a small apartment that smelled faintly of antiseptic and old coffee. That evening, a storm had flooded the streets and stalled the buses. Matthew had balanced a sick child, a missed daycare pickup, and a warning email about performance metrics. He typed quickly while warming soup and checking a thermometer, fingers numb with worry. The message was simple, meant to steady a frightened boy in the next room. It went to the top contact on his phone instead. The send icon flashed, and the damage was done. Rebecca Turner read the message from the back seat of a town car, the city sliding past in streaks of silver. Her days were built from meetings and risk assessments, her nights from silence. She had learned to guard herself since her own marriage dissolved under the weight of ambition and grief she never named. Seeing those 3 words on her screen jolted her, not because of scandal, but because of their tenderness. She checked the name twice, then again, and felt a strange pull toward the person behind the mistake. Matthew realized what he had done when his phone vibrated with a delivery receipt. Panic hit him like cold water. He imagined the professional consequences, the humiliation, the final straw in a stack already too tall. He drafted an apology he could not bring himself to send. Before he could, another notification appeared, asking where he was and whether everything was all right. The tone was uncharacteristically human. The storm worsened, knocking out power across several blocks, including Matthew's building. The heat died and the hallway lights went dark. With no car and a child burning with fever, Matthew wrapped Noah in blankets and prayed the power would return before the night grew dangerous. He sent a brief explanation, stripped of emotion, because emotion had cost him enough already. Minutes later, a location pin arrived with instructions to wait in the lobby. Matthew hesitated, pride wrestling with fear, then gathered what he could and carried his son down the stairs. Rebecca arrived herself, not the driver. She wore a coat too thin for the weather and a resolve she did not recognize. She had spent years solving problems from a distance, and this one refused to stay abstract. In the lobby, she saw a man trying to look capable while holding a sleeping child whose breathing came in uneven waves. The reality rearranged her assumptions. This was not an employee crossing boundaries. This was a father at the edge of his endurance. The night unfolded in a quiet house on the edge of the city, a place Rebecca had filled with design and emptied of warmth. The guest room became a sanctuary of blankets and humid air. Rebecca called a pediatric nurse she trusted, then brewed tea she had never needed to share before. Matthew hovered, grateful and ashamed, unsure where to place his hands when he was not holding his son. Rebecca noticed the way he moved, careful and practiced, and understood that this competence had been earned in loss. Outside, the storm battered the windows. Inside, something gentler took shape. Rebecca listened as Matthew explained his routine without asking for sympathy. The mornings that began before dawn, the budget spreadsheets balanced against medication schedules, the quiet moments when Noah laughed, and the world briefly made sense again. Rebecca spoke less, but when she did, It was honest. She admitted the loneliness that success had not solved, the way silence could feel like failure when it stretched too long. By midnight, Noah's fever broke. Relief settled into the room like a second breath. Matthew finally allowed himself to sit, the adrenaline ebbing into exhaustion. Rebecca watched him from the doorway, seeing not weakness but resilience, a quality she had once prized and then buried under policies and margins. She realized the message that started it all had not been an error. It had been a signal. Morning arrived pale and clean. Power returned across the city and the storm moved on. Rebecca drove Matthew and Noah home, the streets rinsed of last night's fear. At the apartment, Rebecca paused, taking in the smallness of the space and the largeness of what lived there. She did not promise anything dramatic. She did not need to. She offered flexibility at work, resources Matthew had not known he could ask for, and a standing rule that emergencies were human, not professional failures. Weeks passed. Life did not become easy, but it became possible. Matthew's performance improved because he could breathe. Noah returned to school with a sturdier smile. Rebecca found herself smiling too, not because she had changed the world, but because she had chosen to enter it. They met occasionally, sometimes for coffee, sometimes to attend a school event, where Rebecca clapped too loudly and did not apologize. The wrong text faded into a private origin story, one that reminded them both that care could arrive through accidents. As this story draws close, if it touched your heart or reminded you of a moment when help arrived unexpectedly, please like the video, share it with someone who needs hope tonight, and subscribe for more stories that honor quiet courage and second chances. Before the ending, we have a special request for you. Please comment below with the words "Kindness still matters" if you believe small acts can change a life. The night that began with a mistake ended with a truth both Matthew and Rebecca carried forward. Love does not always announce itself correctly. Sometimes it slips through cracks, rides on the back of exhaustion, and asks us to respond anyway. In a storm-lit city in the United States, a single dad learned he was not alone, and a guarded executive learned that opening a door could be the bravest decision of all.